Right, good morning guys, welcome to today's vlog. Today brings us on a training day because we have Aaron aka Specs, who's just started up a channel. He said he'd like to come do an urbex with us, so we've come to some places that we know. We're starting off with the old abandoned once public house which became a family home, burnt down in 2015, which is at Millbrook train station. And then we're going on to Stuartby Brickworks again, doing both sides, a brief little look over what we've done, just so we can show him the ropes of what it's all about for us. Anyway guys, hope you can join us. This place hasn't changed that much, to be honest with you, since we was here 5 months ago. But this wasn't about just sort of coming back and re-going over things. This is a totally different day. We're on like I suppose you could call it a training day. We've got Specs with us, who has done urbex himself, but he's never vlogged urbex. So the idea is give him a few pointers, the way to sort of produce and put the content out there, because you can tell us, oh well, there's a walkway, etc. But it's when you're walking on that walkway and the viewer sees how treacherous or dangerous it is, that you get that little bit more interest. Now, this has seen better days for sure. It's a sheer drop underneath us, and behind me, I don't know whether this will focus in on it or not, but down here, because there is the old cellar at the bottom which is full of water, that looks as if the drop itself is about 5 times greater. All pretty cool stuff though. To be honest, I'm not going to make my way around there. I did last time we was here, but I remember the floor being extremely spongy. And as I said, we want to do these as safe as possible. Here is basically an old public house that become a residential property. I think it was 2015, had an accidental fire here. After that, anything else that's materialised afterwards is obviously arson. But yeah, so it's become a derelict property. Then after this, we're going on to an industrial site. The sketchiness of what we face is, we know that the beams should be pretty much solid, so we have to make our way around those and get into each room that we want to get into. There's one false move and it's a pretty perilous drop. Again, sadly, we have more dead animal life, birds. I know there's I believe a mouse or a rat downstairs. There's your crossing, because we are literally on top of the train station here at Millbrook. See the cars going over the crossing. Broken glass everywhere. That's just kids, as much as everyone coming in to vandalise, spray the place up, which to be honest has not had a lot done to it since the last time we was been here. This here, an old wet room, I guess. Just the looking of it, could have been an old shower. So just the whole area is all tiled, so I'd say that's a wet room. And there would have been years ago access to a further floor up there, but that is just a burnt out shell. I will kill you. Well, that's nice for you. Just a view of the top level floor and the pretty naff ceiling that's above us. Old laminate flooring in here, still in pretty good nick. Bit spongy in places, so I'd say the beams below it are on their way out, but it's this when nature creeps in, takes over, I love all that. That really makes the explore. The old ivy creeping through the open windows. As I said, you can see there, it's where we are, Millbrook Station. From here, we're going to go out. There's a little pathway to the side there, and that track will take us all the way, probably a half an hour walk to Stuartby. We could wait for the train, of course, but why not? A bit of exercise does us the world of good. Now I have started upstairs, so we'll make our way down to the sketchy downstairs. These steps are alright. There is a lot of plaster that's fallen off the walls, so the further you get down here it's sort of piled up, so it can be a bit slippy, and what with the rain that's been about doesn't make it too clever, but all in all it was pretty safe. I looked at a few of the bills and the paperwork that's been on the floor. I think there was a letter down there. I'm not going to show you names and addresses, etc. But one said 2014, which sort of goes hand in hand with what I said, that there was a fire here in 2015, which ended its life as a living property. We'll make our way up there in a short period of time and just put the torch on and go in this room over here. I've said many times over the years, I have to invest in one of these long LED strobe type torch things, but this will do for now. I'm saying, as before, that was probably a dead rat or mouse or even a bat. This has fossilised itself over the years. A nest there in the old fireplace. These were our stairs that we've just come down. Specs there doing his first urbex vlog.
Hey guys.
Check him out. He's done about 15 videos now, very new to the scene, but we've known him for years and he wanted to do this out of respect for AP, start a channel, grow it. So let's help him on his way. The old cupboard. It's where your security and alarm system would have been years and years ago. Stripped out and have a fireplace. This is probably the most treacherous bit in the whole of the property. The stairwell is not very safe, and I've said before, there's a good 5 foot of water down there because it goes right beneath where we are and further back. And I bet that is pretty pungent. I always imagine some sort of creature from the Black Lagoon living down there. Now this place itself, like many of us, I've called it the piano house in the past. Reason being, this fella over here may have been residents in here since it was a pub, fallen into disrepair, stripped, smashed up, rotten away. But yeah, that is the reason, the purpose, this place is called the piano house. This floor here, guys, totally collapsed in. I suppose a lot of people, me buddy, exploring with Shano, avoided Viking Explorer, they would call this place a shell. It pretty much is, but it's a cool shell. Trashed, just the way people like it. This would have been a huge kitchen area back in the day. Probably worked well for when it was a pub. I don't know what was out the back, whether it was an office area, but there's a huge area at the back that's overgrown. Paul's exploring it at the moment. I'm in shorts, so I'm not going to front. All the bracken and the stinging nettles at this time of year can be up to between 8 and 12 foot high. Trust me, they can. I remember that from last year. We done an explore, an old Wesleyan chapel in the woods. Just had my shorts on and was attacked every step of the way. Now a stairwell. If you were doing a vlog, of course, in any of these places, your stairwell is going to be the strongest part of your house. And this was just a way up to a back room. There's no way through. Built-in walk-in wardrobe, ensuite. So all this area has kind of been cleared off, and you can see the height of the weeds at the back there. Don't know whether they was doing work to that power pole there, but you can get into all of this structure. It's very overgrown, like a load of outbuildings. It's full of gas canisters and hard hats and prams and all sorts of things like that. All this makes me think that the old scrappers have been in here to get the piping, etc. Room now, just storage, I guess. It's just a home now for birds and bugs and squirrels and rodents. But it's a cool little explore. All this dereliction, and you always find something that looks as new as when it was first put up. Weird. We've moved on from the old pub, old derelict house, which sat at the station at Millbrook. We could have taken a 30-minute walk. It's about a mile and a half here to Stuartby, where we've been over the last couple of weeks, but it was important to show specs, the sort of places we've been going. These are just a couple of offices. Storeroom behind me is really, really impressive, and then it's back into that huge warehouse again. But it's still content, it's all good. Anyone who likes your industrial urbex loves this kind of stuff. You just look, the steel cabling, the hoists, the winch, the view you get where people have tried to ignite things, old cylinders that have not been purged. There's one there that has. They've obviously set light to them and they make one almighty bang if they go. Well, that's kids for you. Well, it's not actually kids, it's adolescents, your late teenagers with nothing better to do, because there is nothing for them in this world really. No youth clubs anymore as such, so they make their own entertainment unless they're stuck behind a computer at home. But these places, if you're into what we do as an urbex, are lovely to explore. Number 69 is still here, as I put it here last week. And these would have been little cubby holes for the nuts and bolts. It's welding rods. I know them all too well. The amount of time my dad doing welding on cars and bikes would end up for arc eyes, the glare, like the UV light, etc., the spark, and he would be blinking and be in absolute agony for weeks and weeks afterwards, even though he'd use a mask. And thing he'd do is bathe his eyes with milk. But just look at that steel cabling again. Each one of these must weigh in excess of a ton. Safety numbers, abrasive wheels regulations, dyes and all sorts of other bits and pieces in here. Even an old lawnmower. And this I believe, and might be right, might be wrong, this predates a forklift, so it's like not a pump truck, a wheelie barrow or sack barrow. You put it underneath whatever it is, there'd be a winch on the side of that, and you'd wind it up to your desired weight. They were quite popular in a lot of industries because they were cheap. Even to this day they still use them. Let's go and see if we can get back in the warehouse from last week, which is really, really impressive. Back in the main huge warehouse area now, and there is distinctive proof that people do come here on a regular basis, because that IBC that's hanging on that winch was positioned over here last week. We got it on film, so not that it's a problem. Said before, this is easily the size of a football pitch. I'm just surprised and shocked where they left all these bricks behind. They must have a value somewhere. I'd imagine this is an area now which is pretty much frequented by people trying out their drone skills even. That's a way into the room that's adjacent. Not that I'm going to go climbing through anything. I'll certainly get up on the brickwork here and show you what is the other side. Oh, that's a bit mouldy in there. See, we could have made our way through. That's where we was just in the storeroom at the back there, and you can see through that window into this area. There's not much really to see, and that's a heck of a lot of bird poo. So obviously the pigeons have been rife in here. Someone may have slept rough here as well, of course. Big old truck tyre. Surprised it's still got air in it. Over here in the corner is how many people in the past would have made it in, but I guess they got clued up to that and come and pretty much really fasten it down, bend it up so people can no longer get in, unless of course you want to lay down and roll in. I think that's a bit beyond me nowadays. But as I said, if they're going to leave a door open, not locked, on a latch, you can come and explore. How much power would have been generated in here? Bit of an old, I suppose it's a sample brick wall, because it's not really come away from anything. Perhaps a way in through the door there. Never tested that before. Nope, solid brick wall behind it. Said, as usual, I've got Adventures of Paul to be right over there. Looks as if he's building his own wall. And first time out doing a vlog as an urbexer is Specs over there, who is just pretty much setting his stall out, getting himself going. I wish him all the best in the future. Obviously himself, likes of friends that I've met doing this, Alan Reed, Exploring with Shano, Voided, Viking Explorer, Exploring with Kev, and Abandoned City Camo Crew, among others. If we're ever in the same area, we'll tag along and do the same bits. Seems to be a bit of a growing community, which is cool. I've noticed more and more that we are distancing ourselves from those who are so-called at the top end of the food chain, because they seem to spend most of the time arguing and causing themselves no end of problem, and then they'll just go live and milk everyone else out there for, or if you want to buy our merch. Well, I don't think it's about that. It's about having a bit of fun. No more than that, really. Guessing at the back here, these would have been washrooms, inquiries, so people could obviously come here from the outside if they needed something. Yeah, this is pretty much cinders. Although I will go upstairs again. I don't particularly like doing it, but it just adds to the videos. People like an overall view from height. So let's do this. This is the only real sketchy bit of this part, this floor in here, where God knows what them temperatures must have been that were reached when this was all scorched. Here, of course, is your winch system. I think it's 3 ton, if I remember from last week. That must have lifted, oh, probably at least probably 2 or 3 piles of them bricks and put them on the back of wagons. You can just see the scope, the scale, sheer size of the place from looking how far Paul looks away from us there in the distance. And he is probably maybe 60 metres. That's not power, guys. I believe that's just the wind blowing its way through. Well, we've made our way back round the other side to where we visited several weeks ago, as we continue with this little bit of a training exercise, which I think Specs is enjoying. Yeah, I know that as we named it as gargantuan just because of its sheer size. It is absolutely phenomenal in there, guys. We will end up going in there to finish off the vlog, but in all the time we never went into this warehouse over here. So if we go in that, we know we've got no reason to return. We've done everything apart from, I think it was like a sports and social club the other side, which you just cannot get access to. That has a bunker, but it's just not accessible, where they've knocked down the steps and the archway to get in. But maybe one day someone will find a way in, unless of course this is all doomed and it's all going to come down at some point. Now it's just got all them little pigeonholes up there in the storeroom. Never even tried to actually get up there. Whether it's accessible or not, I don't know. If it is, we will get in there. I can't remember, to be honest with you, exactly what parts we did get to and didn't get to. The place is absolutely huge. Look at the crack up the side there. And this place has been closed since, I think it was 2008 was when they finally closed their doors. So we'll make our way into this warehouse before going up the front entrance of it. Is it like some form of power generators? Maybe water supply at the back there. It's woody woodpecker. Obviously looks like a Christmas woody woodpecker. I don't know how many years that's been up. And the gates over here, there must have been some sort of way of getting the clay and everything else from here to the works next door and vice versa. Was this where they loaded it up on transport? Wall that's collapsed there. And look at that, like a big sand bunker going into what looks like a set of toilets. Obviously Paul needed the carsy. I'm actually going to turn around and say fox. If it's not fox, it's cat. But that is a right state, guys. Don't usually show these sort of things, but it does look hideous. Facing line. What is a facing line? I suppose facing line could be where they're pressing to put the London brick and the number of the kiln on it. Well, another wall that's certainly ready to come down. This must have had a generator in it as well. Paul just turned around and said this bit reminds him of Jeepers Creepers, the movie, where they nailed him up there. It is very similar, I must admit. Here's your old power supply. All your fuses have been taken out and pinched. Maybe a copper thieves have been here as well. But just coming in here means that we've done basically the whole area, which is cool. With the road running down the back, this area must have been some sort of loading bay for the trucks. Perhaps the finished article, the bricks. Welcome to what we like to call Paul's play pit, because he's got his swing there. He just loves. We've been here a couple of times now, and he loves this, to jump on that and play around, swing around on it like a monkey. But in amongst all the grey and dullness, which is the other side of this, this just shows you a little element of colour. At some time the madness just gets to you. Well, to Paul anyway. Here he is on his favourite swing. I would laugh my tits off if that fell. This place gives off such eerie vibes, and I've likened it to some of the Terminator films. Your end scenes where they're in an industrial area, especially the first movie. As I said when I actually vlogged this properly last time, I said if anyone had ever been through the Battle Through Time, the ride that was at, well, it wasn't a ride, it was a sound stage at Universal Studios Orlando, and you'd sit in the auditorium watching it, and the scene where they come through with the killer drones, and Arnie grabs hold of it, smashes it against the wall, then the T-2000s, whatever they were, come out and start attacking. It just gives off them vibes. Such a cool place. I'm surprised movies haven't actually been shot here. Maybe they take inspiration from places like this. Twisted metal, beams, damage. You couldn't really get as close to this last time because the floor was just that little bit damper, and every footstep you was collecting so much clay that you'd be wiping off your feet. at the next level. It still is damp in places, but nowhere near as bad. I showed you this, guys, last week. Your conveyor belts, which would have brought in your materials, your clay. Someone within the time I've been here has come in and stripped that off. I don't understand it. The other side we found an old Stella Artois freezer, mini freezer. Last week it was damaged, this week it's burnt out. And there's just little things that we noticed as we left the other side. 3 little urbets, couldn't have been any older than 13. All their push bikes turned up, and you wonder what are they up to, but of course it wouldn't be a kid that would remove that. Old filing cabinets. This is what the place once was. These are the original owners. London Brick. It was then sold on to Hanson.
London Brick? They're the ones who done the Blue Lagoon?
Yep. It's where they started out. Boot, still where we placed it last week. I said this area here was where we believe all the workers kept their belongings, equipment before heading out to do their shift. It's certainly seen better days, guys. Wow. First time I've actually seen that and noticed the actual curvature of the brickwork. And just more of your office areas. I pointed out last time that someone had been sticking the fruit label stickers off apples. They must have eaten a heck of a lot of apples and bananas, etc. to cover that over the years. It's just a hive now for bugs and critters. The one thing I will make a note of is you can get access to this side and you can get access to the other side. No problem at all, to be honest with you. However, do not attempt to cross there. The difference you have is here you can just be asked to leave. If you get caught crossing that with them lights on and that barrier down, that's an instant £1,000 fine. Right guys, that sound behind us is that the barriers are coming down, which means our train is coming our way back to Fenny Stratford. We'll end here. We're going to go and get ourselves a Starbucks, talk about what we've done today, and that's pretty much the vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it. Specs' first time out. Me and Paul, this isn't our first rodeo. I've enjoyed it. It's sort of, I know it's going over similar ground to what we've done before, and it's just one of these ones who's classed as a training day. Basically, we enjoyed it, got to see what we wanted to see. I think everyone's had a great time, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We've done it, we've been safe, and with that guys, we'll see you in the movies. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.